Thank you, Lenny. Yes, good old Lenny Kravitz on the guitar there. Woohoo! You gotta love it. Ah, yes, good evening and welcome. Welcome, everybody, to a very, very super omnipresent special edition of Film 101 this evening. Yes, we're going to burn an hour and 15 minutes of filmmaking goodness into your skulls for this next hour and 15 minutes on HTLA Radio 1 New York. Yes, we are here doing that. We are doing that tonight because Straight Talk with Kate and Crash will not be being aired this evening. Kate's actually at a dinner in town. She has to do these events from time to time, and this one we're supposed to both be at, but yeah, show must go on. So seeing as how I couldn't do a Straight Talk by myself, because I'm only the Crash part of Kate, we're doing Film 101, a special edition, and the reason I chose this show to do, well, aside from the fact that Kate does every other show but Crash Talk, and I couldn't possibly fill an hour and a half with Crash Talk, well, not without swearing anyway, but yeah, so I'm rolling out another Film 101 because the show's just kicking it up. Later this week, on our regular Wednesday night, we're going to be having, I believe, my mentor extraordinaire, director Louis Lawless. Yes. Yes, we will have that crazy Irishman here, and wow, it's going to be something. So you can all get an appreciation of where I've come from in the lovely world of film and television, and maybe get a better handle on Crash and why he's so crazy too. So that's going to be coming up this week for sure. Next Wednesday, I'm looking to have director Peter Marshall on the show. Yes, many fine films he's been involved in. He's very busy right now, all kinds of stuff on his plate, so we're going to get that in as soon as we can get that in, but he has assured me he'd love to be on the show, so Peter Marshall will be coming to Film 101. So for this edition today, I kind of thought, what am I doing? Well, I'm trying to teach all you guys out there how to do it properly. God damn it. Do it properly. Jeez. Yeah. So in my want to teach you all how to do it properly, I thought that this would be a good opportunity, seeing as how I have a special second night this week of Film 101, to get into a little bit more of, I don't know, some of the first kind of things you do in pre-production. Yes, pre-production, that little thing that we like to do where we sit down and figure everything out before we go and do our first day of principal photography, kids. Huh? Mm-hmm. So that's what we're going to be doing today. It's pre-production Monday. There we go. We're going to be talking about things like breaking down your script, where the first AD really comes in handy, and, both Louis and Peter would both be fine examples to have on the show and talk about first AD jobs, because we've all done it a million times. So yeah, we're going to be talking about breaking down the script. We're going to be talking about film budgeting. How do you develop a film budget? Because a lot of you don't know how to develop a film budget. Trust me. I think one of the latest people I was talking to, that they've got this script and they're going to make a big budget film. And I said, okay, well, what are we talking here? And the guy's like, oh, we're talking $10 million. I'm like, okay, well, it's not big budget in any realm, but it's a decent size and it's probably quite good. Who are you planning to have in the film? Oh, well, Brad Pitt's my first choice because he's clearly this character. I basically wrote this character to be Brad Pitt. And I said to the guy, you know Brad commands about 46 mil a shot now, right? And there was dead silence on the phone. He's like, yeah, of course I know that, yeah. And I said, so how is your budget only $10 million? You see, you might think you know, but you don't know. So I'm going to really attempt to kind of fix all that stuff up there for all you aspiring screenwriters who seem to think you're a director too and have no clue because you didn't go to school for screenwriting and you certainly didn't go to film school for directing. You haven't taken a year-long internship. You haven't even done any weekend courses, have you? Nope. No, because you just haven't. But yet you think you're going to take this, perhaps in some cases, I've seen people invest 2, 3, and 4 years of their lives developing a screenplay only to come to me with my production company, Tailor Made Film International, and actually, say stuff like this. Oh, yeah, I think our budget's $10 million and blah, 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 blah. Well, okay. Who's attached? Well, I want to get Brad Pitt attached. Oh. Well, right there, you're telling me you're a drooling moron. Just to be nice and straightforward and polite, that's what you are. $10 million film, and you're going to have Brad Pitt in it, and he's 46. I'm not sure where that math comes from, but in anywhere around the circles I move in, that doesn't work, kids. So let's break it down, shall we? So let's say, okay, you're one of these guys who's invested 2 to 4 years of your life writing this script for Brad Pitt. Yeah, and there it is. Now, whether the script is good or bad, you have to understand that's completely beside the point. Because do you know your formula? Do you? Is it a 3-act structure? Is it the Hollywood formula? Or are you trying to go off on some new kind of artistic, autistic thing that's all your own? Because I've seen these too, kids. Don't forget this. I've seen people bring scripts to me that are absolutely horrible and wouldn't get made by some of my no-budget guerrilla indie buddies who, take a 48-pack of beer and take a bunch of cameras out and go shoot stuff. Okay? They wouldn't do it. So if they wouldn't do it, you can't expect to be taken seriously in the industry that would do it. So what is it? Well, it's your baby. It's your script. Damn it. So while I can't help you there, I don't even think my script writing wife could help you there, because if it's that much of a mess, I don't really care what you do. Even if you get that thing turned into any kind of an anything, it wouldn't go anywhere, because there's certain things that the industry needs in order to satisfy the masses. And then, of course, that's to satisfy the advertisers. So, let's look at your script. You've got your script. Okay, now your producer, whoever he or she may be, or maybe it's just yourself, will read through the screenplay once. Okay? Now, the producer, or also indeed the job of a first assistant director, will review the script, mark certain elements that need to be taken care of before production, or even before pre-production can begin. Yes. Marking. Each scene has, as per, slug line, is measured into 1/8 of a page by its number of inches. Most pages of a screenplay are 8 inches, so each inch isn't 1/8. Even if a page exceeds 8 inches, the number of 1/8 is then marked into the top left corner of the scene and circled. If a scene lasts longer than 8 1/8, it's converted into 1. So a scene lasting 12 1/8 is marked 1 4/8. With me so far? Okay. Excuse me. Now, you're like, what's a slug line? That's right, because you don't know. You didn't go to school. That's why you're here listening to me, the great sage of the film. A slug line is it's actually unique to the screenplay. It states numerous things about a scene. It's also often called a master scene heading, kids. It occurs at the start of every scene and is usually made up of 3 integral parts. Part 1, of course, basically states whether the scene is set inside or outside. Int, ext. Those are the abbreviations commonly used. All capitalized, by the way. A period always follows each abbreviation. Sometimes an action may move from interior to exterior several times within the scene. In the interest of brevity, the writer may choose to use int period / ext period or ext period / int period. With me so far? That's part 1. Now part 2 states the location of the scene, such as Jerry's apartment, Jane's car, the restroom. If the location needs to be more specific, then a space-space can occur, followed by a more specific place. For example, Sarah's apartment - kitchen. Finally, another space-space separates Part 2 from what is Part 3. And what is that, you may ask? Oh, crash of the Jesus. Part 3 refers to the time of the scene, whether it's day or whether it's night. Those are normally used, but dusk, dawn, late night, early morning, and others can be used if necessary. For example, if a particular scene requires a sunrise, dawn can be used. If a character starts inside and then walks outside during a scene, a new slug line will be needed, but in the slug line, continuous will be written instead. Later can be used to indicate the passage of time. Okay, so y'all with me so far on that stuff? Okay, all right. So that's your general marking elements. Now, to ease future production, the assistant director marks the elements found in each scene. The process repeats for each new scene, and by the end, the producer will be able to see which scenes need which elements and can bring to schedule accordingly. Remember, he's the one that's got to schedule this whole mess, right? Now, the film industry has a standard for color coding. That standard pretty much reads like this. If it's cast, i.e. any speaking actor, you're looking at red. Yes. Now, if it's stunts, a stunt that may require a stunt double or stunt coordinator, that is orange. Extra, or silent bits, any extra needed to perform specifically but has no speaking lines. Those are yellow. Extras, atmosphere, any extra or group of extras needed for the background. Those are marked in green. Special effects, any special effect required, is marked in blue. Your props, all objects important to the script or used by an actor, are purple. Vehicles and animals, any vehicles and all animals, especially if it requires an animal trainer or handler, go in the pink section. Your sound effects and music, sound effects or music requiring specific use on set, not sounds added during post-production, would be marked in brown. Wardrobe, specific costumes needed for production, also for continuity if a costume gets ripped up or dirtied throughout the movie. That requires a circle. Makeup and hair, any makeup or hair attention needed, common scars and blood, that kind of thing, would be marked with asterisks. Special equipment. If a scene requires the use of more uncommon equipment, example a crane, underwater camera, that kind of thing, you would put that in a box. And then production notes for all other questions about how a scene will go or confusion about how something happens would be in an underline. Okay? So those are the things you can expect to see back from your first AD, or your producer if he's doing the job, or yourself if you're directing, producing, and doing the whole damn thing. These things will help you because when it comes to scheduling, when it comes to moving any kind of amount of people around anywhere, whether they're cast, crew, or both, whether it comes to any special equipment that you need to have on set that, isn't in somebody's pocket, this is all very important to know, and it's all very important to break down right at the beginning. Okay? Now, another thing that people don't do and don't seem to have a clue about doing is budgeting. They don't even know how budgeting evolves. I've talked to a lot of people that have a finished feature film script. Yes, they've been doing this for years. They don't have any previous credits, but that's okay. They've been doing it for years. So they know what they're doing, right? You ask them for a budget, and what do you get? Nothing. Or you get my handy-dandy 10 million Tom over there. Oh, yeah, 10 million. Well, your actor cost 46. Oh. The last thing a production company ever wants to see coming from you is stupid or wrong information. Okay? Time is money, people. And even before we're standing on the set of your next big feature, it costs us money to review your stuff. To look at what you've got and say, is this a bankable project? Am I down? Or is this just more garbage and I'm out of here? So keep that stuff in mind. And I know there's a couple of you listening who are screenwriters, don't have a clue. You haven't gone to screenwriting school. You haven't even taken workshops, but you're doing it. And I appreciate the drive and the ambition, and holy crap, you've got this 110-page script you've written from nothing. This whole universe is yours. Those are all great achievements, and I'm not trying to take anything away from those here. I'm just trying to not have you waste your lives because you come to this point all the time and you can't go any further and you don't know why. It's a big thing. And in fairness, you don't need to have a budget. But when I say to you as the screenwriter, after I look at your thing and we're talking about it, what kind of budget are you thinking for this? Don't tell me $10 million. Tell me you don't know. You haven't done the breakdown. You don't know what it's going to cost. That's fair. I can work with that. Okay? Well, let's talk about some of the elements of a budget, because this is something else that I know very much firsthand. Writers don't even know what to ask. Some of you savvy writers out there who are trying to break into the business, you get on the internet and you do some research and you go find out what the Writers Guild would be billing out if it was an hourly. All right? Yeah, I've had those guys too. But they never actually give the number they want. They never actually give the number they feel they're worth. Their script can be the best thing ever. They can tell me, and they have in the past, they've told me, you can take this to Bruce Willis himself, and as long as you get him to read it, he will do it, because you think it's that good. But yet when I ask you how much you want for it, you can't tell me. Okay? Well, some of these things that I'm about to go in through here, the elements of your budget, some of these things will help you value proposition what your script is. Okay? So listen up. Got a lot of stuff to cover here, and I'll get to it. Now, the first thing you need to look at is your story rights. Okay? That is the right to produce a film based on a play, novel, video game, or as a remake or sequel. And it can cost anything from a couple of $1,000, leaving Las Vegas, for example, to well over $10 million, i.e. Halo. Okay? An original screenplay by a Writers Guild of America member can cost anywhere from $50,000 or so, right on up to $5 million. And you're like, well, Crash, dude, that's quite the span. What the heck is that? Well, you see, that's kind of, there's a number of factors that determine this. Okay? Not the least of which is your credibility in the industry. Are you a known writer? Do you have 25 different films that you've put out? Are you Tom Clancy? Do you have 50 nationwide bestsellers on and this is the next big military thing you've written? What is it? That goes to determining its value. If you just break it down according to the Writers Guild of America, and you break it down to your hours and time and commitment and all that good stuff, then you're looking at the standard union rate, which is $50,000. But do you know that 90% of the screenwriters that have handed me finished, completed, polished scripts ready to go don't even tell me $50,000? Some of them tell me ridiculous, outlandish numbers, like I want $5 million for this. Oh, and there's always that caveat with those $5 million guys, too. They need to be on set. They're going to be the actual writer of the film, and they're going to be on set, and they're going to be working with the director and the actors, and, make sure Keira Knightley says this lustful line the way I've envisioned it and masturbated about it for 3 years. No, seriously. They do say this, okay? So you need to kind of look at that. You're looking at a bracket between $50,000 and $5 million. And with that $5 million side, what have you got to qualify yourself for that much money? Okay? And trust me, with this business, you need to qualify everything. Yes. Now, the screenplay itself, an A-list screenwriter, okay, can be paid anywhere from $100,000 to $2 million to write a script. This is a studio coming to him. This is some studio writer that's excuse me, got 10 or 12 under their belt, and the studio comes and says, okay, well, tell you what, we need this. We'll give you, $250,000 up front, $400,000 a week for each rewrite of a film in trouble. Script doctors might be called in, so that drives the cost up more. The final draft over $100,000, $200,000 a week. Right, that kind of thing. But you're not a studio writer, are you? No. Okay. Most recently, Columbia Pictures has been offering pretty much about the best rates for screenwriters, and 2% of the gross profits after the production and marketing has been deducted. And this is something else that you guys don't get either, is points. Okay? These writers, when everything's all done and said and all the costs have been paid and everything else, all the gross profits after that, you should be qualifying for percentages of. Or you should be, at the very least, through your agent, negotiating percentages of. It's an important thing. Most writers will tell you residuals is where it's at. There's a reason for that. Okay. Now let's look at producers for a second, because remember, some of you are doing this job too. Now, film producers and executive producers are often well paid, with a top producer earning a 7-figure salary up front, as well as bonuses and a share of profits after the fact. Spider-Man, for example, producer Laura Ziskin, is estimated to have been paid over $30 million when all was said and done. Okay, that's one thing. But that doesn't mean you're going to go out and on your first feature film, rack in 30 mil. No, it's not likely to happen. I'm not going to say it's absolutely not going to happen, because stranger things have happened in this industry, haven't they? Oh, yes, we know this. But, yeah, I wouldn't be sitting around waiting for that one. Now, the director goes by Directors Guild of America guidelines, DGA, or DGC in Canada. Minimum's about $16,800 a week. Okay, that's cost for a minimum of 10 weeks' work, usually. An A-list film director, i.e., the Michael Bays and all those good guys, James Cameron, you're looking at a little different scale, aren't you? You're looking at $5 to $10 million per film. Okay, now the reason is of course what? Notoriety. If you can attach James Cameron to your script, well, that's adding some bank, kids. That's what that's doing. That's like, oh, really? James Cameron is slated to do this thing with this guy. Wow. Okay. All right. I think I'm going to go for a quick break. And when I come back from that break, we'll talk about a little more about that, attaching A-list people to your stuff, because of course that's the first thing everybody that comes to me says. Oh, Bruce Willis, James Cameron. Yeah, not so much. We'll see you back here in 2.
I hate flying. The lines, the crowds, the delays.
I always kind of liked it. 6 hours, one seat, nobody can get to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard our non-stop service from New York to London.
Fly much?
All the time, actually. Someone on this flight is threatening to kill someone every 20 minutes unless $150 million is transferred to this account number.
We're midway across the Atlantic. How do you kill someone in a crowded plane and get away with it?
Ladies and gentlemen, I need every passenger to raise their hands above their head.
This is a bad idea.
Marshal, we have a right to know what the hell is going on.
Agent Marks, the account number you gave us is in your name.
What? That doesn't make any sense. This is a setup. Something else is going on.
The FBI, the White House, and Interpol are confirming reports that an international flight has been hijacked by an air marshal.
Agent Marks, our fighter escort has you in their sights. Do you hear me?
We're running out of time. Do you hear me? Alliance, hijack this plane. I'm trying to save it.
HTLA Radio 1. That's right, kiddies. You are tuned to HTLA Radio 1 New York and our special edition tonight of Film 101. You gotta love that Liam Neeson movie. It's coming, kids. Aye. It's not gonna be long now. Non-stop. Look for that in your theaters. Yeah. Muchos Buto Kiko. Yes. Now, where were we before the break? We were talking about you getting James Cameron to do your script. Sorry. Right. Well, while this might be possible in some faraway land in a galaxy far, far away, chances are... How would something like that even come to be? What could we do? Well, we could pretend we're George Takei and get on the phone to James Cameron. Hello, this is George Takei, James, and I was wondering if you'd be interested in doing my script. It's a wonderful story about a boy and his dog, and there's all sorts of science fiction elements as well. You may enjoy it. Oh my. Yeah, you could do that. But then, of course, when he found out that you weren't really George Takei and he wasn't handcuffed to any gay rights happiness thing, you'd be down the river. James wouldn't be doing... So what are some of the other ways you could get James Cameron to be attached to your script? Well, there's the old, California restaurant way, right? Yeah, you can corner him in a bathroom and slide it under his stall, and if he didn't take offense to that, which would be extremely unlikely, didn't kick open the door and shoot you in the head with his pants down, because I would do that. If he didn't do that, and he actually took you seriously and read 3 or 4 pages of the thing, and wow, you gripped him. Then he actually gives you his business card and says, give me a call tomorrow and we'll talk about this. That would be cool, but likely, no. No, I'd be going back with the George Takei thing. Yes, that has much better chance of success. See, the thing is it's all about bankability, okay? If 20th Century Fox is going to put $220 million of their hard-earned dollars into something, they've already got a pretty good idea what's going to sell, don't they, boy? Yes, they do. Because it's a formula, and it's a business. And these are businessmen, okay? It's not like the golden days of Hollywood where it was all about entertaining the masses. No. Now it's what keys on people. And what do they respond to? And, well, if we did this, and if we had this, hey, wait, I got an idea. What if we turned the Transformers cartoon into a movie and, partnered up with, I don't know, Ford or Chevy or somebody to put out some really badass cars that we could have, and we could change, Bumblebee from this stupid, innocuous little 1972 Volkswagen Bug into some real badass Camaro, and people could buy that Camaro because it'd be a concept when the movie comes out, but then later they could buy it, like the next model year they could buy it, and wow, they'd just fly off the shelf. Everybody would have to have a Bumblebee, wouldn't they? See what they did there? Yeah, bankable. So, yeah. Okay, but You didn't create the Transformers. You're not adapting a cartoon into a motion picture. You don't have James Cameron. You're doing all this yourself. I feel downright suicidal. It's kind of that kind of business. Okay? So, you're not likely going to get that A-list film director. Okay? You're not likely going to have to pay him $5 to $10 million because he's not going to attach himself to it, and therefore your budget doesn't have to include him, does it? One of the biggest things you got to remember is credits, staying power, experience. You got to build up, and unfortunately, you have to build up from zero. Okay? So now that we got all that fun out of the way, let's take a look at your cast. Yes, another big element of your budget, isn't it? While the bulk of the cast usually gets paid by the Actors Guild, their standard rate of about $2,300 per week, U.S., famous and bankable film stars can command fees up to $30, $40, $50 million per film, plus perks. Yes, you heard me. You think Brad Pitt's just going to come for $46 million? No. There's got to be a trailer, there's got to be an entourage, there's got to be whatever it is they put down on paper that they want, you got to provide. Period. And possible gross participation again. Yes, they'll be talking points if they're that big. Okay? Sometimes an actor will accept a minimal fee in exchange for a more lucrative share of the profits. Okay? Union extras are paid around $130 a day, give or take. Plus, extra for overtime if they provide their own, transportation or what have you. But low-budget film non-union extras are paid less, if at all. Okay? So keep that in mind, too. Once you get up into that union level, yes, you're covered by a lot more things. Insurance is a lot more happy to see you. There's all kinds of pluses and bonuses to doing that. But if you're not there yet, don't even think about it. And when I say by if you're not there yet, have you had anything that you have written turn into anything that's on a screen? I don't care if it's a TV, the big screen in the theaters, somebody's little Walkman playing, your movie on their iPhone. Doesn't matter. How many times have you taken your written word and translated that into a visual product? Okay? Ask yourself. And if it's 10 or less, I wouldn't even think about trying to think about getting into anything at a union level, a director's guild level, any of those levels I'm talking about. Writers Guild, I would only use that as a guide for your written stuff in the beginning. And I certainly wouldn't be looking for $50,000 if it's your first screenplay. Okay? So you starting to understand the little scale there? I hope so. Next, there's things like production costs. What is the cost of producing the film? Including crew wages, production, design, live set and studio costs, costuming, catering, accommodation, transportation. Hell, your director of photography. The DP is usually the highest paid member of the crew, and anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million. Working stiffs I'm talking about, okay? Not the director that you cornered in the bathroom. And he's a very key element. He or she is a very key element of what your product looks like in the end. And we've talked about this in earlier Film 101s. Next, things like in this day and age, all this digital stuff we shoot, it's ripe for visual effects. So does your story in film have any visual effects? The cost of computer-generated imagery and effects and other visual effects work in post-production depends largely on the amount of work, the desired quality, and the effects company involved. And yeah, I'm sure Industrial Light and Magic is a certain example there. Being the most prestigious and expensive, extensive effect work, as in Avatar and Lord of the Rings, can easily cost up to $100 million. Yes, it can. So what do you got? Do you got a character piece that takes place inside of an apartment building that you can, it's got crappy light and you want it to look crappy anyway? And, is it that kind of thing? Or is it the next Avatar? huge, vast differences in your potential end budget. And then music. We've covered all the major things here, the major elements, but now music. Top film composers, for example, they'll ask for a 7-figure salary to compose an hour or so of original film score. You bet. Well, what's it good? Okay, an original song by Christina Aguilera, for example, for Shark Tale, or Kanye West, Mission Impossible 3. That one song could cost $1 million, and the right to use the song, hundreds of thousands more. In addition, the artist may wish to see a screening of the film to see if it merits their approval. Yeah, don't forget that too, because remember, they're artists in their own right. And what they put out, that reflects a lot of them. And so if they're going to attach, one of their songs to one of your films, then it's got to work with what they got going on too. Okay, so sometimes even no amount of money can fix that. So that's kind of important. Now, let's see, I think that's enough right now. I don't want to overwhelm you, but those are pretty much, your major basics for the elements of your costing, okay? Now, there are some, tactics for cutting costs. Yes, there is. There's shortcuts. You bet. First thing I would suggest is eliminating night scenes. Shooting at night requires, most oftentimes, powerful and expensive lighting. Yes, it does. Not just a little, LED you're going to throw on the camera. Now, the payment of nighttime rates to the crew is more. Okay? Broken Arrow, for example, that was an example of a good film that cut costs by millions of dollars by getting rid of the night scenes from the script. Just gone. Okay? Many directors choose to use day for night technique. Okay? Which, you could certainly do. Right? Wouldn't hurt. Day for night, essentially American night, is the name for cinematographic techniques used to simulate a night scene while filming in daylight. Some techniques do use tungsten balanced rather than daylight balanced film stock, or special blue filters underexposing the shot, for example, usually in post-production. It can create the illusion of darkness or moonlight. Historically, they used to use infrared movie film to achieve an equivalent look with a black and white film. But with most digital production techniques, it's also common to add or intensify glare and light, shattering from different light sources that would otherwise be less pronounced in daylight, such as windows or door lighting, outdoor artificial lights, headlights on cars, that kind of stuff, right? So they will oftentimes do that. Or just get rid of the night scenes. Bye-bye. See you later, buddy. Yeah. So there you go. But, what do you do? So eliminating night scenes, that's a good thing to do, I think. It can save you a lot of money. Try to avoid location filming in famous or commercial areas. That can save you a lot of money, too. Shooting a scene on, for example, the Golden Gate Bridge. That requires stopping traffic with a resultant drop in the revenue to the city of San Francisco. Filming such a scene like Interview with the Vampire. That cost Warner Brothers $500,000 right there. Shifting the location to, say, the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge for close-ups. That could save you hundreds of thousands of dollars in location fees. Some locations are more willing to allow filming than others, and this is why it's always another really good thing to have a location scout in your pocket. Somebody that you work with, somebody that can give you locations that you need on the low cheap. Yes. So, get involved with your filmmaking communities, go and be extras on this no-name film and go and hang out and be a PA on that no-name film, because all of that is network building, and you'll start to get to know people in the industry, and you'll start to get to know what they know, and that's key. Yes. The next obvious tactic for cutting cost would be to use unknown cast members rather than stars, right? Because let's say, you've got your $10 million budget and you can't afford Brad Pitt at 46. Okay? So let's go back down that road. Grab an unknown. I'm not saying get an idiot, but if you know anything about casting, if you know and understand anything about acting, and certainly if you know anything about the weight of the character within your script, you've got a pretty good idea how good that actor has to be to carry that off. If you've written a character piece with not many locations and all that to save money, you may be screwed trying to find that one actor that can do that character arc. Because depending on what you've written, that can make all the difference in the world, can't it? Yes. Now, another thing you can do is deferring salaries. You can ask the above-the-line talent to defer their salaries. In exchange for dropping their large upfront salaries, actors and directors and producers can receive a large share of the film's gross profits after the fact. This is a disadvantage of cutting the financier's eventual takings. It has further disadvantage of ambiguity in the case of net profit participation instead of gross profit participation. Disagreements due to Hollywood accounting, quote-unquote, methods can lead to audits and litigation, and it's a real mess. And if you don't think it would ever happen to you, it happened to Peter Jackson and New Line Cinema. After New Line claimed that Lord of the Rings, which grossed over $2 billion, failed to make any profit and thus denied payments to actors, the Tolkien estate, and Jackson. Oh yes, those dirty little SOBs did that. Yes. So, what I'm saying to you is, you can defer salaries for after it's in the can, but then you've got that kind of balancing problem. Your investors are like, well, where's my pie? I'm giving you the money to make this sucker. Where's my money? Yeah, that can suck. So it's not one of my first picks for cutting costs, but it can work. Also, like I said, get 10 in the can before you think about working union. Use a non-union crew. It's not an option for studios that have signed contracts with the unions, of course, with the DGA and the Writers Guild of America and the Screen Actors Guild. No. Director Robert Rodriguez, for example, has been known to use the skills of experienced non-union crews for his films. He has. It can be done, but then you're working out on the periphery. You're out on the edge. And that's scary and precarious for a lot of investors, so yeah, they might not like that either. Filming in another region is about the only other thing I could think of for cutting costs, and of course this would, kind of matter, I guess, on a higher budget thingy. For example, many Hollywood movies set in the U.S. cities are all shot in Canada, hence my 17 years in Vancouver. It was all making American TV and film. They take advantage of lower labor costs because of the dollar, subject to fluctuating exchange rates. Yes, there's even been some times when the Canadian dollar has been worth more than the American dollar, and they're still shooting up there. They don't just pull out. Of course, they've invested over a couple of decades a really good infrastructure there, and on the whole, they still save money, so they stay. As well, they take advantage of federal and provincial subsidies designed to grow and sustain the film and television production industries as a whole. Many U.S. states have responded with tax incentives of their own, but then so has the Czech Republic, Malta, Germany, Australia, and even New Zealand. So, think about those things. If you're not going to be filming in the, continental U.S. kind of dealy, definitely look into tax incentives and subsidies that these countries and provinces and whatnot are willing to offer, if that's what you're going to do, because that can come in pretty handy. Trust me. Using your budget as an advertising tool. Have you thought about this? For blockbuster movies, high budgets are advertised to imply that the film will be worth watching. Yes, they do. Hence the $220 million next Michael Bay film, right? On the other hand, El Mariachi, for example, was advertised as having a shoestring budget of $7,000. Yes, El Mariachi's actual budget, including the distribution costs, far exceeded $7,000. The festival print itself was in fact made for $7,000. That's your film stock, just for that one print. The additional budget expenditures came when the movie was picked up for distribution by a studio. Ooh, are you thinking with me? I hope so. Now, going over budget, that's something that happens a lot, isn't it? In the U.S. film and production system, producers are not allowed to exceed the initial budget. Exceptions have, of course, been made. One of the most notable examples was Titanic. Yes, that evil director, James Cameron. Yes, he ran aground with the budget and offered his fee back to the studio in order to make it up. In other countries, producers who exceeded their budget tend to eat the cost by receiving less of their producers' fees. While the U.S. system is profitable and can afford to go over budget, other countries' film industries tend to be financed through government subsidies. See? So even the big boys are getting subsidized. So you shouldn't feel bad. Okay? If we sit down and did your script breakdown and, well, sum in total you could do the whole thing for $14,000, don't feel bad. You know, the point is getting the thing done, getting it made that makes you feel good, getting an actor who's going to give you a performance that you go, yeah, that's it. Getting that director that puts the whole thing together and really realizes your vision, and a DP that can see what you see when you see it in your head. Okay, if you get all those elements, you're on the good road to having a career at this, because all of those elements, you know, putting all those elements together, that's really what it's about. And to do it in such a way that satisfies not only the director, the writer, but the audience, that's the winning key right there. I'm just going to look at some examples of breakdown for a couple of films here. First one I'm going to look at is Unbreakable. Okay, you remember this one. Now, the story rights and screenplay were $6 million. Okay, so $6 million. All right, there we go. Producers, another $1.8 million. Okay, add that up. All right, there we go. Director, M. Night Shyamalan. Yes, Shyamalan. Yes, and assistant, $5,081,000. Okay, we haven't even got to the cast yet. Yeah, nope. But now let's get to the cast. Okay, what do we got for the cast? Well, we got Bruce Willis. We got Samuel L. Jackson. We got Robin Wright Penn. Who the hell is she? I don't know. But Bruce Willis is $20 million. Samuel L. Jackson, well, he's only $7 million. I don't know why. I'd give him 20. He's damn good. And Robin Wright Penn coming in at a 2.5 mil. Okay? Then there's the rest of your cast, casting, stunts, and travel. There's another $5.5 million. Your production costs. Oh, yes. $26,200,000. Yes, they are. Your visual effects are costing you another $1 million. And that music I was talking about is another $2.2 million, which brings the grand sum total of your Unbreakable film to $75 million. Yes, it does. Now, let's look at Lara Croft, Tomb Raider. Huh? The story rights and screenplay for that film were $4 million. Okay, so $6 million for Unbreakable, $4 million for here. Producers, $4 million. Director, Jean Debon, $5 million. Your cast, $17.25 mil. Screw it. We gotta get going for a break anyway. So we'll be back in just a couple of minutes here, and we'll try and continue your education in the world of film. Yes, that's what we'll try to do. We'll be back in 2 minutes, gang.
Lifts to clear obstacles. Lowers to cut drag. Rises to every challenge. The class exclusive air suspension in the new 2013 Ram 1500. Engineered to move heaven and earth. Guts, glory, Ram.
What can I get you all today? Sea salt and vinegar, smart pop butter.
I'll take caramel with a side of white cheddar.
And for you, sweetie.
The special?
Lime and salt it is.
You guys ever get tired of just eating popcorn? Because I know I never would.
Awkward.
Discover all 18 flavors of Orville Redenbacher's gourmet popcorn. Simply made, passionately created.
Have I got a treat for you? New clean whipped cream foundation from CoverGirl. A delicious new recipe whipped up by Clean Makeup. They took their clean, fresh foundation, added a dash of hydration, then whipped it to smooth, matte perfection. Finally, a non-drying whip that wears like a dream. What a treat from Clean. New clean whipped cream from easy, breezy, beautiful CoverGirl.
I live for the applause, applause, applause. I live for the applause, applause, live for the applause, applause, live for the way that you chill and sing to me. The applause, applause, applause. You may not be alone, won't you stand and make love?
Just Dance 2014. Stay in, go all out.
HTLA Radio 1. Yes, there we are. We are back, gang. You are listening to HTLA Radio 1 New York. I am the host of Film 101, and that's the show you got tonight. Special edition Film 101 in lieu of Straight Talk with Kate and Crash, because Kate is out. Kate is doing the thing. She's down in the bathroom probably right now, sliding a script under James Cameron's stall. Badumcha! Come on, that was funny. Yeah, well, it'll be funny when she gets home and listens to this. Anywho, we're talking about your scripts and your breakdowns and your budgets and the whole what the hell are you going to do with this thing that you've spent 3 years writing? Yeah, what are you going to do? What are you going to do, punk? Huh? Well, we've gone through the slug lines. You know what those are now, and you know how they kind of relate, but they actually tell the producer or first AD or whoever is breaking down your script things about cost as well. Yes. For example, the headshot of Tobias in newspaper. Yes, the slug line this instance is merely a headshot which leads to the action line, which is the Tobias in newspaper part. These variations are used only when they're needed, such as when photos are shown and sometimes when a computer or television screen is shown. All those things cost money. Think about it. Another variation occurs when a scene takes place in an unusual location. For example, space. Yes, gravity wasn't cheap. You can't just shoot actors into space. They got to live up there and all that good stuff. Space can be used in place of a time or day if the scene doesn't take place on a planet. Yes, so if there's no reference to the sun, it doesn't really matter where it is, right? So an example of this would be exterior, Federation battleship, hangar bay, space. Yes, Star Trek. Now, don't get me wrong, those films aren't cheap either, but they certainly lend themselves to, well, geez, okay, now I got to figure out how the heck much a Federation battleship is going to cost me. And I'm not even kidding, because although the Federation battleship doesn't actually exist, of course you need to make it exist, don't you? Yes. That's set building. That's studio time. Yes, it is. Unless you think you can, have them beam you up for a little while to shoot around their ship. You're looking at having to make it, kids. And, of course, it has to have a hangar bay inside said Federation battleship. Because, of course, you do battle in battleships, but, this scene is in a hangar. So what do we do in hangars? Well, we keep all our littler battleships in the hangars, don't we? So now you need littler battleships in that background, don't you? Yeah. Let's look at secondary headings for a moment, shall we? These offshoots of slug lines allow the writer to shift the action without the waste of space of a full heading. The master scene heading can give the general location, i.e. interior Connor's house day. Then the secondary heading could be used to indicate that the action is moving to a new location within the house, Jim's bedroom or kitchen. The above usage, however, uncommon. Most writers would assign each new location its own scene heading. The more common use of secondary slugs is to shift attention to a new area or character within a large single location. In the example here, I would convey that all that's needed in the standard lines of action, the secondary slugs really help delineate the action when there's a lot going on in a busy environment. So let's say an interior ballroom at night. Okay? Couples dance to the band, an atmosphere of carefree joy. A lot of punch has been drunk already. Ha ha ha. At the bar, Jenny sips on a mixed drink. On stage, Mickey keeps playing his guitar, but his attention's not on the band. He's staring at Jenny. Okay, so there's a lot going on in that scene. Most of it's not even written, is it? No. But that's one of the things about screenwriting and why I say, and Kate says, and everybody I've ever worked with to do with scripts knows that you've got to know your stuff, and you've got to know the formatting, and you've got to know the structure of the story and your timeline, and oh man, I could go on for days. Another thing that's very important, and even professionals are guilty of this, not mentioning any names, but recent professionals who approached me. Yes, some recent ones. Scene numbering. Kind of important. Okay, just to make things a little easier for poor old me when I'm breaking down your script. Scene numbering. Yes. Each slug line begins a new scene. Okay? In a shooting script, the slug lines are numbered consecutively. These scene numbers serve as a milepost marker in a script. It allows any part of the script to be referred to by a scene number. Do not confuse these scenes with shooting sequences. That's different. Okay? A shooting sequence, I'll go into this now, is part of the script consisting of a single unified action and which can be shot in one place at one time with essentially the same cast throughout. A shooting sequence can be part of a scene, an entire scene, or several scenes in a script. Okay? And during that pre-production process that we're talking about, where the script is lined, meaning that the line is drawn between each of the shooting sequences in the script and each important element in the sequence highlighted. Because, the poor producer, he's got to put this all together in a schedule, right? Right? Because to save you money, if we can get, well, I don't know, let's say if we can get scene 4, scene 16, scene 64, scene 65, 66, and 67, scene 93, and scene 104, all done in the same day, in the same location, at the same time, that's what we're going to do. Yes. See, and this is why it's so important for things like, having a professional actor, for example, because if you have somebody who is your actor, and your actor is having a problem with one of the takes, and you're into take 14 and 15 and 16, and they keep screwing up, or they keep laughing, or all those outtake things that we just take so much joy in on the DVD extra features. Yeah, that all costs money too, right? You bet it does. So that's why a lot of companies and production groups have taken to putting in those outtakes, especially when they have A-list actors, because it's fun to see, Jim Carrey grabbing his upper jaw for the 700th time and throwing himself on the floor. Yes. So there's some entertainment value there, so why not throw it in the mess? But in reality, if you've got 12 more scenes to shoot today, all in this one location that you only actually have for the day, because that's all your permit's allowed for, that's all your location scout got it for, you're pretty screwed if you don't get that actor on the straight and narrow, get the scene done, and move on to the next ones before the end of the day. Because then you're boned. Then you're trying to scramble around at the end of production, trying to do pickups and trying to monkey this together with duct tape and that together. No, it's just not a good scene. So that's why it's important to have professionals. You may not be, this might be the first of many scripts that you may write, and this might be the first of many experiences you may have filmmaking, but that can be a deal breaker if you don't have professionals on the crew side and on the talent side. It's also really important that your director know what the hell he's doing, because, you know, one of his jobs is to get those actors and to get them into that scene and to get them to have the moment, quote, end quote, the moment. That moment of reality that he is looking for on his little monitor, to see that. And once he sees that, he knows he's got that scene. That's the job that the actors are supposed to do in this scene. They carried their lines perfectly. They've conveyed the story. That's a good scene. I'm keeping that printed. Okay? And you don't move on to the next scene until you got that. Okay? So, all very important. But if you don't have a director who knows how to get those actors motivated into that scene, to get them into their character, to make that moment real for what it is within those four borders of that screen, he's not doing his job either. That's why Louis sent me for 2 years of acting school before he would teach me directing. See how that works? Yes. Yes. Because now I know and understand the tools of the actor. I know what they need to draw upon. I know what they need to be conveying in scenes. I know how to talk them from zero to being in that moment relatively quickly, because I know the same tools that they know. You know, and usually within a very short period of time, sometimes 2, sometimes 5 minutes, I can get an actor to where they need to be to carry out that scene brilliantly. And that's really important for the director and the actor to be on that same kind of wavelength to be able to do that. Because, of course, it's the director's job to get your beautiful script onto a screen. Okay? So, very important. So, think about things like that. And also think about, you know, to even get to the point where you've broken down the script enough to know that you need to shoot these 14 scenes at this location on this day. Because if it's a feature, you might be having 30, 40 days of shooting. Okay? On the set, 4 a.m. Not off the set till you're done. Yeah, sometimes that can run into midnight. Sometimes that can run into 2 a.m. again. Yes, it can. Sometimes at 2 a.m., your 10K goes out. Oops. Well, just throw the replacement bulb in there. Oh, that was our last one. What now? Uh-oh. All of these things, very important. That's why these scripts have to be certain ways. They have to be written properly in proper formatting. It's not so critical to, you know, to write, unless you're going to, you know, you're writing a script to sell it to Universal, then it's important to give it to them in their format, you know, to look at. Yeah. But that's going to be another edition of Film 101, because then that's acquisition, and we're talking a whole different ball of wax there, aren't we? So, but when it comes down to writing it, you know, it doesn't have to be, you know, Universal's format if Universal's not shooting it. So, as long as you've got all of the elements that you need so that your script can be broken down properly and budgeted properly and cast and crewed and scouted and locations and all that good stuff, then technically you're still okay. But you've got to have that stuff. You know, you just have to. There's some accepted practices that you can look at, too, in terms of formatting variations, okay, that are generally accepted as long as the intent is clear. So those would be, well, there's 4 of them. Any change of time or location that would require a new slug line, okay? All slug lines are on their own lines, flush with the left margin and typed in all capital letters, so they're easy to spot. Master scene heading cannot be the last item on a page. It must be followed by at least one line of description or dialogue. And the writer may double or triple space before the slug line, but should always double space afterward. It's just, those are some good accepted practices that will work with just about any script. And yeah, see numbers, please. Okay. So that's generally, that's pretty much, and as far as your breakdown goes, let's cover that a little bit more now. Your breakdown has to include all your costs, right? That's how you develop your budget, is from that script. It's from that breakdown. It's from that shooting schedule and the shooting script. It's from the storyboarding. It's from all of those pre-production elements. They everything together. You can, of course, come up with your budget guesstimate before a lot of that work gets carried out. Yes, but don't just sit there and say $10 million when you don't have a clue. Right? It's very important. The other thing is that even though you're not, named and well-known and 500 credits and working for 20th Century Fox, you still can be known within your circles as a credible writer, a credible filmmaker, and, you can have those 8 or 10 projects in the can. And trust me, I don't care if they're 10-minute shorts. Absolutely not. It's still a credit, and if it's been done well, then it's worth talking about. And if your circles are talking about it, then, word spreads. Okay? It's also, well, we weren't really going to go into financing, but I will say some footnotes on the financing dealio. You can look at crowdfunding sources for sure. Especially if you're just starting out and have absolutely no credibility whatsoever. Think about it. I mean, you don't have any credits. You got this one script you wrote that's supposed to be the end-all be-all. It's the next Gone with the Wind, damn it. But how are you going to convince anybody of that? Especially anybody with purse strings. Money's not that easy to let go of for most of the money men, because they have it. See, they don't usually let that go easy, because then they're not the money men anymore, right? So be thinking along those lines. If you're going to go to somebody and especially crowdfunding, okay? Yeah, any idiot can go to Indiegogo or Kickstarter or wherever and fill out all the information and make yourself a nice little presentation and kick it out there and share it out on Facebook and have your buddies tweet it or what have you. Chances you're going to get funded? Next to nil. Why? Well, again, it's all about credibility. So those drunken guerrilla filmmakers I was talking about a little earlier that will do things for a couple of cases of beer, those are the guys you want to start with. You want to find those guys. Find the ones that will work for free just for the experience. Find people who take it seriously enough to get yourself some credits. Okay? And I'm not saying you have to write, produce, and direct, 10 projects before bothering to go to Kickstarter or Indiegogo to get some real money for, $500,000 film. Because that would be what I'd be talking about at about the 10 credit mark. If you have some stuff to show, okay? Even if you put together a reel of 5 minutes long of 30 seconds each for the last 10 things you've done, 30 seconds each, you're going to roll the highlights of each one of those 10 no budget, no nothing things you've done. At least it shows that you've done something. That way, when somebody comes along and finds your Kickstarter or your Indiegogo and goes, oh, who's this idiot and what's this? Oh, well, the script looks pretty good. They got some nice graphics for the poster art there. Let's read into this. Ooh, it's a horror film. I love funding horror films. Okay. And now what's he going to see? Ooh, you got a video clip there. He plays the video clip. Okay? This is your money guy. This is your investor. He's playing your clip. He's looking at those previous 10 credits. Your writing, your filmmaking, whatever it is, whatever your involvement is with those, that's what they're looking at. Okay? Can this guy carry something to the end? Well, you've got 10 credits that say you can. Can this guy give me some quality? You're showing him 30-second clips of each of the products, the best scenes, the best lit, the best shot, the best acted. Okay? You're giving something of yourself and your creative art. You're showing, yes, I have done this. I've done it 10 times. This is what I've done with no money. People with money will look at that and might, and I underscore might, give you a shot. Okay? So crowdfunding's one source. But then there's the rest of you. Yeah. Yes, the rest of you out there that think, oh, I'm just going to write this and Bruce Willis is going to read it and he's going to love it. And you might send it off to Bruce Willis. You might find some agent or manager contact, or hell, you might be a good enough stalker. You might find his home address and mail it to him at one of his homes. Is he ever going to see it? No. Why? Because he has staff. The staff get those things. And what do you think? Now put yourself in Bruce Willis's shoes now. If you were Bruce Willis and you got hounded with everybody's projects every day of the week, what would you be telling your staff? I know what I'd be telling them. Anything unsolicited comes here, burn it. Throw it at the fireplace. Don't want to see it. That's what I'd do. I don't know about you, but that's what I'd do. So there's that to keep in mind too. Oh, well, screw it. I'll go the corporate route and I'll just go right to Universal. They'll buy it. Well, guess what? They have what's called studio writers. Yes, writers on their payroll and that they go to for ideas, and they go to for their 3-act structure, and they go to... Why? Because they're accountable. Those are bankable writers they have working already in their payroll. They're already paying them. It costs them nothing to have them except what they're already paying them. And they have them. They have them for all their television network stuff. They have them for their feature film stuff. They have them. They've got it covered. Anything creative that comes out of this studio, it's them. They've got it. They don't need you. But now here's the thing. If you go and send your unsolicited scripts to any of them, they've got a disclaimer. Every single one of them. Every major studio out there. We do not accept any unsolicited materials. But you know what they will do? If you submit it, they'll take it and they'll read it. And if they like it, they'll pass it off to their writers to dissect it, rip it all apart, put it all back together with like-named heroes, and put out your feature at absolutely no cost to them. So stop doing that. It's not helping you. And so many of you out there are doing that. And if I can stop just one of you, then my job is done. That's right. Well, that about wraps it up for me today. I hope that I have helped you with your screen breakdown and understanding film budgeting and all that good stuff. And well, somewhere in there with my George Takei impersonation, made it entertaining as well. So, with that, I would like to thank you all for joining me on this special edition of Film 101 on HTLA Radio 1 New York. Invite you all here tomorrow for my Crash Talkin'. Yes, my Opinionator show. I'll give you an hour of butt-kicking opinion that you just can't get enough of tomorrow. And then Film Wednesdays. Yeah, Kate's got her Real Talk where she's comparing films. And then, of course, it's time for Film 101 again with, hopefully, if all things go well, my mentor, director Louis Lawless. Look forward to seeing you all here Wednesday, and have a good week, gang.